Okay, so let's unpack this. We need to go back in time. We're talking late 2008.
Not a great time for anyone, really.
Yeah. The whole global financial system is basically in free fall. Credit markets are frozen, and all you hear about is bailout.
Right. And in the middle of all that chaos, you've got this one entrepreneur.
Who has just bled almost all of his personal wealth into two, well, let's be honest, two incredibly ambitious, cash-hungry ventures.
It's the ultimate zero-sum problem, isn't it? The sources we've looked at, they just paint this picture of extraordinary pressure.
I mean, it's a moment where failure on one side, the space company, or the other, the electric car company, it doesn't just mean a setback.
No, it's a total professional collapse. Game over.
Exactly. So today we're diving into that absolute tightest corner of his career. The mission is to really analyze how Elon Musk navigated not one but two simultaneous existential crises.
You've got SpaceX trying to reach orbit and Tesla just trying to survive the week.
And how these twin breakthroughs in December 2008 ended up validating his entire kind of crazy approach.
So to set the context for you, the listener, you really have two completely different challenges happening at once. SpaceX, which was founded back in 2002, was all about physics.
Right. Trying to build a cheap, reliable rocket, something only like governments and huge legacy companies had ever done.
His whole idea was radical. He thought, a rocket shouldn't cost 50 times more than its raw materials.
And then you have Tesla on the other side. That was more of a business and a material science problem.
They bet everything on lithium-ion cells, the same kind of cells that are in your laptop.
A huge gamble because nobody had ever figured out how to build a battery pack that could handle the power and the heat for a high-performance car.
Yep.
So let's start with the drama happening out in the Pacific, because that was the immediate high-stakes countdown. We're talking SpaceX and the brutal reality of the Falcon 1 launch failures.
It was just systematically destroying their cash reserves.
When you actually look at the timeline of those first three failures, it's like a master class in learning from very painful, very public mistakes.
Yeah, it wasn't just that the rockets blew up. It was how they blew up. Some of them were for, unbelievably simple reasons.
Okay, so take the first one. 2006, they'd been working on it for 4 years, and the rocket barely even clears the launch pad. What happened?
It was. It sounds silly, but it was basically a plumbing issue.
Plumbing.
A single fuel line nut came loose. That's it. It caused a fire near the engine just 25 seconds after liftoff.
Wow. So all that complexity, all that science, and it comes down to a loose nut.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that one simple failure cost them years and millions of dollars.
So they regroup, right, for the second launch in 2007, and this time it flies much further. First stage separation goes perfectly. Morale must have been shooting up.
For a moment, but then it failed again.
And this one was more complicated.
Much more. This time, the second stage engine just shut off way too early. The investigation later found this phenomenon called slosh. Yeah, the liquid fuel was literally sloshing around so violently in the tank that it confused the sensors, which triggered an emergency shutdown. So you fixed the simple stuff, and then you went into complex fluid dynamics.
And then comes the third attempt, August 2008. This was the crushing blow.
The sources say the control room was just dead silent after it exploded. They knew.
They were out of chances.
And this failure was maybe the most demoralizing of all, because it wasn't a flaw in the design or anything like that. It was just a scheduling mishap.
What do you mean?
The first stage separated perfectly, but there was a tiny delay before the second stage engine fired, just a fraction of a second.
Yeah.
And in that tiny window, the two stages actually collided midair, a minor timing error that led to the complete destruction of the rocket.
So 3 failures, $100 million of his own money, just gone.
Up in smoke.
Which brings us to the core financial reality for SpaceX. After that third crash, what was the immediate threat?
The immediate reality was that they had just enough money left for one more launch. That's it. If that fourth attempt failed, SpaceX would just cease to exist. It was truly zero-sum.
Okay, so while that doom clock is ticking at the rocket factory, another one is ticking just as fast over at Tesla.
Yeah, the countdown to bankruptcy.
And this is such a fascinating paradox because they had this amazing, desirable product, the Roadster, but the business model was completely broken. Why?
It all came down to the cost. The initial target price for the Roadster was $92,000.
And they were hoping to build it for, what, $65,000?
Exactly. That would have given them a pretty healthy margin to pour back into R&D for the next car.
But those projections were, let's just say they were a bit optimistic.
Wildly optimistic. By 2007, the actual cost, just materials and labor to build one car, had ballooned to $100,000.
So they were losing money on every single car they sold.
$10,000, sometimes more. And you have to remember, this was a massive engineering challenge. They had to figure out cooling systems, fire suppression, how to manage almost 7,000 individual laptop batteries in one pack. That complexity just created these huge cost overruns.
So just continuing production meant they were literally liquidating the company, car by car. And then the external shock hits.
The 2008 financial crisis, that was the knockout blow. Musk had already put almost everything he had into both companies.
And outside investors.
They were running for the hills. Credit just vanished overnight. It didn't matter if they believed in the idea, the money wasn't there.
So if you connect the dots here, the pressure is just, it's almost unimaginable. You've got SpaceX facing a physics deadline.
And Tesla facing a market and liquidity deadline. Both teams are screaming that they have days, maybe weeks, until total collapse.
So this raises a really important question for you, the listener. Given that situation, what's the logical choice?
Any VC, any board of directors, they would all tell you the same thing. Pick one. Pick the one most likely to survive and cut the other one loose. Sell it for parts if you have to.
Which brings us to the decision. Because that's not what he did. Most people would hedge, cut their losses, pick the safer bet.
But the sources are clear on this. The commitment was to both. It was completely uncompromising.
He didn't liquidate a company.
No, he liquidated himself. To buy Tesla, those last few desperate weeks, he started selling off his remaining personal assets.
And this is where that famous story comes from, right? The McLaren F1.
Right. He literally sold his own supercar to make payroll.
So let's analyze that. Was that just about raising cash, or was it a bit of theater?
I think it was both, honestly. It wasn't nearly enough money to save the company long term.
No.
But it bought them a few more days. It let them pay a critical supplier, maybe keep the lights on through Christmas. But maybe more importantly, it was a symbol.
It showed the team and any investors still watching that he was all in, personally.
Absolutely. It was a commitment of personal survival. He's betting his entire future on this idea that both of these visions had to succeed. So while he's selling his car for Tesla.
He's also deep in the technical weeds at SpaceX, right? Making sure every last detail on that fourth rocket is perfect.
He's simultaneously the CEO of the world's most ambitious space company and the chief liquidator of his own life savings.
That level of personal, simultaneous focus across two completely different high-risk fields, that's the core lesson here. It wasn't just optimism, it was something else.
And that extreme commitment, it was finally rewarded in December of 2008. This is the twin breakthroughs moment that changed everything. Let's start with the fourth attempt of the Falcon 1.
This was it, the moment of truth, September 28, 2008. The entire future of SpaceX is riding on this one launch. The countdown starts, the rocket lifts off.
And this time, everything worked. The slosh problem was fixed, the timing was perfect. First stage separation, good. Second stage separation, good.
And after a few minutes of just intense silence in the control room.
Confirmation. Falcon 1 had successfully reached orbit.
It is so hard to overstate how big of a deal that was. SpaceX became the first private company in history to put a liquid-fueled rocket into orbit.
It was a massive technical triumph. It proved that their whole approach, their whole philosophy actually worked.
And that proof had an immediate financial consequence.
Yeah, NASA had been watching all of this very closely. They were ready to shift their strategy, and this was the proof they needed.
How fast was the impact?
Almost instantaneous. Just a few weeks later, in late December, NASA awarded SpaceX that first commercial resupply services contract.
For how much?
$1.6 billion.
Wow.
That contract just changed their reality overnight. It gave them stable revenue, credibility. It saved the company. SpaceX was safe.
But, and this is the pivot we often forget, the celebration was short-lived. The sources remind us that while the rockets were succeeding, they still had chaos down here on Earth. Tesla was still in trouble.
Tesla was still staring into the abyss. The NASA money was for SpaceX, not Tesla. They were still out of cash, and the clock was ticking down to the end of the year.
So he had to use the momentum, the psychological win from SpaceX, to get one last deal done for Tesla.
Exactly. He went back to investors, and his argument was, look, the car is engineered. We have thousands of pre-orders. We just need the money to actually start building them in scale.
And the timing on this is what makes it so historic.
On Christmas Eve, December 24, 2008, the emergency funding came through, about $40 million.
It was literally days before the company was scheduled to shut down for good.
That funding allowed Tesla to survive and start mass delivery of the Roadster.
Mm,
And that was the second breakthrough.
right. Delivering the Roadster proved that a high-performance EV was possible.
It proved the battery tech was safe and could meet what consumers wanted. That was the proof of concept that kicked off the entire EV industry we see today.
So when you look back at that turning point, late 2008, it's just the validation of the enormous risk he took is astounding.
Mhm.
He risked absolutely everything, and in just 3 months, he gets this huge technical success that leads to a billion-dollar contract and then this last-second financial save for the other company.
Exactly. And if you connect it to everything that came later, these twin successes are the foundation for it all. The Falcon 1 success made the Falcon 9 and reusable rockets possible.
And Tesla's survival led directly to the Model S and, well, everything that followed. It all springs from this incredibly desperate period.
It wasn't about choosing which vision to save. It was about betting that both had to exist.
Which is what raises a final important question for you, the learner. The sources show that in 2008, he wasn't just trying to survive. He was trying to execute two radically different, future-focused visions at the same time.
When every rational sign said he should just cut his losses.
Right. So, given the lessons of these simultaneous crises, the need for extreme technical perfection on one hand and relentless financial focus on the other, is that it? Is extreme, uncompromising dedication to an audacious vision the only way to survive and thrive when you are trying to change the world in these high-risk, capital-intensive industries?
Something to consider as you define your own threshold for risk and commitment.